When the cowboy stumbles upon the listing for a sprawling, sun-baked ranch on the outskirts of a near-forgotten desert town, the price tag nearly makes him laugh. $35. It seems like a joke, a typo, or perhaps the bait in some elaborate con. But the seller is real, an old, tight-lipped man with sun-wrinkled skin and distant eyes who simply shrugs when questioned about the price. "It ain't about the money," he mutters, pressing the deed into the cowboy's hand. "You want it, it's yours." The cowboy, hardened by years of wandering and worn by the weight of past regrets, sees the ranch as a chance to start over. He's not afraid of a little hard work, and the land, while dry and silent, holds a strange kind of peace. A chance to be alone, a chance to build something of his own. So he hands over the $35, signs the paper, and rides out to his new home. But the moment he crosses the boundary of the land, things begin to feel off. The air grows still, almost too still, as if even the wind hesitates to pass through. The old wooden sign at the gate, barely legible beneath years of dust and decay, seems to whisper warnings only half heard. Locals in town give him long looks when he mentions the ranch, not out of envy, but concern. They don't say much, but their silence speaks volumes. The house itself, though sturdy, carries a strange presence, like it's watching him. Doors creak open on their own. Footsteps echo at night, when no one should be walking. The well behind the house is dry, but he swears he hears murmurs rising from its depths. Most curious of all is how no one else ever tried to buy the land, despite its size. It becomes clear that the ranch wasn't just abandoned, it was avoided. Something had happened here, something no one talks about. And the more the cowboy tries to make the place his own, the more the land seems to push back, as though it knows he doesn't belong. The question lingers, heavy and unshakable. It begins with a noise, soft, almost human, on a night when the wind has died and the desert is holding its breath. The cowboy, still settling into the creaking bones of the old ranch house, hears what he thinks is a voice. A whisper, maybe. Then a shadow flickers past the window. He grabs his rifle and steps out onto the porch, eyes scanning the scrub and moonlit dust. Nothing. But the sense of being watched tightens around him. A few days later, he finds tracks, barefoot prints in the dirt, near the barn too small to be his. Food goes missing. A blanket he left over a fence disappears. Someone, or something, is here. Then one afternoon, he finds them. 3 young Apache women, cloaked in silence and suspicion, emerge from the back of the barn where they've been hiding. They don't run. They don't beg. They stand tall, eyes steady and proud. Their presence is commanding, even in the tattered clothes they wear. They're not squatters. They're not lost. They say nothing at first, only that they've been on this land longer than he has, much longer. Confused and wary, the cowboy demands answers. Why are they here? How long have they been hiding? But the eldest of the 3, with fire in her voice and sorrow in her eyes, tells him something that changes everything. "We were born of this land. It was never yours to buy." She speaks of ancestral ties, of a sacred connection between their people and the ground beneath his boots. The ranch, they say, was once part of a thriving Apache settlement, until betrayal and blood turned it into a graveyard of forgotten stories. They didn't come to steal. They came to protect what little remains, the buried past, the wounded spirits, the truth the town has tried to erase. Their presence is not accidental. It is a quiet resistance. The cowboy, once certain he was alone, now finds himself a trespasser on ground soaked in unseen history. And while part of him wants to drive them away, another part, the part that's listened to the silence of the land, knows they belong here more than he ever will. The question now isn't who they are. It's what truth are they guarding, and why has it stayed hidden so long? Once the 3 Apache women reveal their connection to the land, the cowboy begins to notice things he had ignored before, things that had once seemed like bad dreams or tricks of the desert sun. The wind doesn't just whistle through the trees, it carries voices soft and sorrowful. At night the air grows heavy, and the walls of the ranch house seem to close in. The sound of drums echoes faintly from the canyon beyond the property, though no one lives there, not anymore. The women speak sparingly, but what they reveal shakes the cowboy's understanding of everything he thought he owned. The land was once part of a sacred Apache site, where rituals, births, and burials had taken place for generations. That was until white settlers, led by the very man whose family sold the ranch, struck a deal with the U.S. military to clear the land. Promises were made, then they were broken. Families were slaughtered, graves desecrated, sacred ground paved over with lies, and now the land cannot rest. The youngest of the three women tells him that the spirits of their ancestors are still here, watching. Some are peaceful, others are trapped in anger, caught between worlds, unable to move on until justice is done, not with guns or vengeance, but with the truth the town buried, the truth the cowboy now lives on top of. As he digs both figuratively and literally, he uncovers old artifacts, buried bones, and even a hidden journal belonging to a cavalry soldier who confessed his guilt before taking his own life. The deeper he goes, the more the land seems to respond. Storms gather from clear skies, animals behave strangely, and the ground at times feels like it's pulsing beneath his feet. But it's not just the spirits who want the past to stay hidden. Someone in town knows what really happened, and they don't want the truth coming out. The cowboy is warned, then threatened. He's told to leave it alone, but it's too late for that now. He bought the ranch thinking it was empty. Instead, he inherited a buried crime, a sacred wound, and a responsibility to make it right before the land claims him too. By now, the cowboy has come to understand that the land he bought for $35 carries a debt far greater than dollars. The peaceful life he hoped to build has crumbled beneath the weight of a history soaked in blood and betrayal. The past won't stay buried, not because it refuses, but because it was never properly laid to rest. The spirits are growing restless. At night he no longer sleeps. He hears wailing from beneath the floorboards, drums that beat in rhythm with his own heartbeat, and the whispers of names he doesn't recognize, names the town has tried to erase from memory. He sees ghostly figures in the distance, men on horseback, women carrying children, shadows with hollow eyes. They're not trying to scare him, they're trying to be seen. But not everyone wants that truth to come out. The town's oldest families, descendants of the men who orchestrated the massacre, start closing in. First come the warnings, veiled threats at the general store, an unmarked letter left on his porch. Then come the actions: the barn burned, one of the Apache women attacked. The message is clear: stop digging or join the dead. And yet the cowboy can no longer walk away. He's torn between the easy path to keep the land, deny the past, and live in willful ignorance, or the hard road to stand with the women, expose the truth, and risk losing everything. He knows that real redemption comes with sacrifice. The Apache women believe there's only one way forward. A sacred ritual must be performed where the bones of the dead lie hidden. A public acknowledgement must be made. The town must know what happened and why this land cries out for justice. So the cowboy makes his choice. He helps them gather the evidence, opens the land for ceremony, and invites the town to witness the truth they've buried. And when they try to stop him, he stands his ground, not as a hero, but as a man who refuses to be complicit. By the end, the land changes. The wind no longer howls. The voices grow quiet. The spirits are at peace. He didn't just buy a ranch. He inherited a legacy, and he chose redemption over ruin.